On today's show, the LA Clippers get maybe their best win of the season, beating the Denver Nuggets for a second time. And I've got to say, it was James Harden's best game as a Clipper. I'm sorry, not as a Clipper, this season, but one of his best games as a Clipper. And Norman Powell returned. So did Russell Westbrook. So much to talk about, and a lot of good stuff to talk about on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where a video of what was one of, if not the most fun game that I've been to this season will be on my channel. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought of the game, of the episode, and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't, so you know every single time we post a video. And of course, you can always listen on audio if you can't watch. And Locked On Clippers now has a daily newsletter. Yup. Written by yours truly. How great is that? The Locked On Clippers daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. Clipper Nation, how we feeling? That was amazing. We're going to talk about James Harden's game. I thought it was his best game of the season. Norman Powell's return, Russell Westbrook, Terance Mann, Jordan Miller, everything. But let's begin by talking about how fun this game was to be at. Really solid atmosphere from the first quarter on. Let me check the attendance. ESPN is reporting at 16,182. So not a sellout. But it really felt like close to one just because the noise was so great. Shout out to the wall. Shout out to the swell, especially the supporters section, which is where all the noise and all the gimmick stuff you're seeing is coming from. That's where I'm at now. And was that last season in 207, which was like the beginning of that. Great atmosphere, and just it's amazing how the Intuit Dome makes every game so much louder. Like just the building itself and the wall makes every game so much louder, and you can hear it on TV too, which is amazing. But you got to have something to cheer about, and James Harden gave Clipper Nation a lot to cheer about in this game. For me, his best game of the season, and I say that because I'm not surprised that James Harden can score 43 points on the Washington Wizards. I am, however, surprised that 35-year-old James Harden can play the entire second half against the Denver Nuggets and still come out with a fantastic performance. You know? That's what I was impressed with. He didn't come out in the second half. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did not come out in the second half. That was incredible. Like, I didn't think he had it in him. And the thing about it is, honestly, no, I'll put it this way. I think he had it in him in terms of playing the minutes, but to be able to win against a team of that caliber, that's where I was like, wow. And he tore the Nuggets apart in so many different ways. But I have to say, it wasn't that long ago when we really could not beat the Denver Nuggets. And now the Lakers are going through that. We couldn't beat the Denver Nuggets. We had a real psychological block against them, it seemed. But since we got James Harden, we're 4-2 against them. And I saw a stat, Justin Russo, Clipper beat writer, posted it on Twitter, said that this game was the 24th time that Harden and Jokic have gone head-to-head. obviously for the majority, you'd have to really go game by game, but the first half of those games, James Harden was a supremely better player than Nikola Jokic. I'd say Jokic took the edge in like 2020, 2021 season. But before that, James Harden was definitely better than him. It says Harden is now 16-8 all-time against Jokic, the best winning percentage by a player against Jokic with a minimum of 24 games. Now, that's not coincidental in my opinion, because what Harden does is he really exploits Nikola Jokic in pick and roll. And one thing about this Nuggets team right now is with the loss of KCP, and of course they lost Bruce Brown the year before, their defense is worse. And Aaron Gordon has not been healthy. He actually made his return in this game, as did Norman Powell, but I'll talk about Norman Powell at length in a second. Aaron Gordon was still on a minutes restriction coming off the bench. He played 24 minutes. So when you take Aaron Gordon out of the equation, yes, you are giving a great defender in Peyton Watson more minutes. Yes, Russell Westbrook is a very solid defender when he's engaged, and he has been this season. But there's plenty of guys you can attack in this team, namely Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Julian Strawther. And then there are times where Westbrook does do boneheaded things defensively. And there was one moment in this game where he was so lucky, where he doubled James Harden in late in the fourth quarter and left Norman Powell wide open one pass away. I was like, Russ, what are you thinking? And he got so lucky that Norm missed. But those kinds of things, I mean, and I've been watching the Nuggets, so like I can see where their flaws at. But James Harden, it started out with and what the Nuggets like to do is they like to hedge with Jokic. They like to come up, take away your drive, force you to pass, and have that backside rotating. And they do such a good job of it typically, and they did against us for years. But part of it was because we had Paul and Kawhi handling the ball. And if you compare their ability to pass on a live dribble and pick and roll to James Harden, it's just night and day. Like, we're talking about a guy who's one of the best pick and roll players in the history of basketball. That's not really debatable. He's in the conversation. John Stockton, Chris Paul, LeBron James, Harden. Those are the best I can think of off the top of my head. And I go with, Steve Nash. Hey, I'm a Suns hater, but I cannot disrespect Steve Nash. Steve Nash in the pick and roll was elite. So those five guys, first names that come to my mind, obviously we got blessed with Chris Paul for so many years, and he's a god in pick and roll. But James Harden is of the same caliber, and he's even better in terms of the scoring aspect of that. And Luka's also fantastic nowadays, but I'm still going with those guys. Trae Young, a really great one. And now a lot of guys, because it's a pick and roll league and spread pick and rolls change basketball. But James Harden, he was doing a great job when two guys were being thrown at him to make that first pass, put Zubats or whoever it may be in short roll situations. And then we were getting either open threes or baseline dunks from Derrick Jones or Terance Mann or Amir Coffee Cutting. And that starts with James Harden. He gets that attention, right? And then they were like, you know what? We don't like that. We don't like what we're getting there. And by the way, Jokic was guarding Zoo. Watson was guarding Harden. Christian Brown on Norman Powell. And of course, the Nuggets are going to switch 1 through 4. And you know what matchup James Harden likes there. It's Jamal Murray. It's Michael Porter Jr. And they were taken advantage of to a large degree in this game. Michael Porter started playing a little more physical defense, did some good things one-on-one against Harden later in the game. But for the most part, James Harden got what he wanted. And against Jamal Murray as well. Jamal Murray has just been, for me, awful for his standards this season. Awful. We, in the beginning of the game, were switching the pick and roll 1 through 5 to prevent the pick and pop from Jokic because he's been shooting super well from 3 this year. So we were going to switch. But the thing is, as a result, Jokic had 15 points in the first quarter. But we were up 32-23 after 1. So it really surprised me that we switched up that strategy and started going with a little more drop coverage and then rotating. But I think we just kind of trusted our ability to rotate, right? Because we have athletes. And speaking of athletes, Chris Dunn, super active early in the game, got a bunch of steals. Like, I think one of them was counted as a block, but he got his hands on the ball so many times to begin the game. It sets such a great tone when we come out with that kind of defensive intensity. But James Harden was, threading the needle. Amir Coffey had 5 points in that first quarter, but a lot of it is he may have had 8 points in that first quarter. But James Harden, he's setting the tone. I thought the only criticism I can have of Harden in this game was that later in that first quarter, where he looked a little fatigued, he started just shooting a lot of threes and contested threes, and they were all short. One time he had that 4-point play, which I was surprised he made that. But that was just a little bit of a rough stretch. But other than that, I mean, sublime performance. Terance Mann, I'll talk about him a little bit later, but really solid from him as well. And then the Nuggets were like, we're going to go to drop coverage. We don't want James Harden to make that initial pass, get them in the 4-on-3. So they started going drop, and James was knocking down the floater. And in that second quarter, we went cold without Harden. Even when Zoo came in, we were cold without him. He came back in, restored order. With his 3-ball, with his pick-and-roll play, with his isolation. He's really had more burst lately. Like the last 2 weeks, he has had more burst than maybe even than he had last year at any point. But definitely like peak winning streak, 26-5 Harden burst from last year. Now, the Nuggets were mostly in drop coverage with Harden in the second half, but there was a moment late, actually, I think it was early in the fourth quarter, where the Nuggets were throwing 2 on the ball with Harden when they put MPJ and certain other guys in the rotation that weren't like Christian Brown and Peyton Watson. So they were like essentially refusing to put certain guards and forwards on him. And I always, most teams and every team, including the Nuggets in the beginning of the game, switch 1 through 4. That's what you want to do in today's game. But they were nervous about it, and they were putting 2 on the ball, and that's how Terance was getting some of those mid-ranges in the short roll. Norman Powell was getting some open threes. I mean, I was shocked they weren't switching those. Then later in the game, they went back to switching those, and they almost, got the W, but they didn't, because James Harden had a huge snatch back on Peyton Watson. That was vintage James. He even busted out the cooking, the chefing it up, the stir in the pot, whatever you want to call it, the signature James. And that was a huge shot. And not only that, he made 2 free throws to seal the game, and that was what lost the Nuggets the game, was free throws. They just did not make their free throws. James Harden, 39 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists with a steal. He did turn the ball over 5 times. He shot 10 for 26 from the field, 6 for 15 from 3. That's 15 threes is a lot. But he shot 40%. So you'll take that. And 13 for 13 from the line. Getting to the line, played the entire second half, put the team on his back. Greg Jennings style. 38 minutes played, 39, 9, and 11 for James. It was a sublime performance. He is the Jokic killer, maybe. Now coming up, going to talk about Norman Powell. He's back. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? I love Christmas. Even though living in Los Angeles, it doesn't really feel like a winter. You know what I'm saying? It's a little colder. It's not like when I was on the East Coast. But being around family is what's most important, no matter what. And for some, wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with the fam is the best way to spend their month of December. But therapy's a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Clippers winning this one 126-122. I don't even know if I said the score. That is unacceptable on my part. Sorry, Clipper Nation. And by the way, shout out to all of you. The people I saw at the game came up to me and said, "What's good?" Never gets old. Always a really humbling feeling to know that you guys appreciate, what I'm doing. I was talking to Law Murray tonight, or Sunday night. Shout out to Law, our beat writer, and he was asking me, how do you balance, the coaching stuff? You said you coach every day. You have a day job and the Dime Dropper and Locked On. And I say, man, I just don't sleep much, which is awful, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You guys make it worth it every single time. when you say something in the arena, when you want to be in my video. So I really appreciate that greatly. And, it's really a privilege to do what I do, and I don't take it for granted at all. And it makes it even better when you have a team that plays as hard as the Clippers are playing this season. And one of the guys that's been a standout is Norman Powell, who we were 4-2 without. He came back in this game, and he didn't skip a beat. Picked up right where he left off, where every single open shot he takes feels like it's going in. The Norm left to right curl was working so well. They started top blocking it, and they started throwing 2 on the ball with Norm. So in that third quarter, after Norm hit 2 threes, when we went down by 10, those were huge. I believe it was 70-80 we were down. He hit some huge threes, and then they started hedging with Norm coming off that curl. And then we got in those short roll situations. And then guess who got a taste of his own medicine getting some open threes? James Harden hit 2 wide open ones where it was so wide open that he could not pass it up. Sometimes James Harden isn't the most willing three-point shooter off the catch. He could not pass it up. He was so open. I think it was, right wing 3 facing the wall. Hit 2 of them. And just hit some massive threes in that third. Norman Harden really saved us in that quarter because we went down by 10. You know what I'm saying? We got outscored 36-27 in the second quarter, so we had a tie game at half at 59. Went down by 10 in the third, but still ended up outscoring Denver 33-31 in that quarter, and then outscored them 34-32 in the fourth. So we were going into the fourth up by 2, even though we were down by 10 at one point of that third, and Norman Powell and James Harden are a huge part of that. It's amazing that Norman Powell can come back and drop, 25 points like that. 28 points. 28 points. The thing about Norman is he does not check the boxes in other categories, really, but he's a professional bucket getter, and he does it very efficiently. 1 assist, 1 steal, just 1 turnover on 9 for 17 shooting, 5 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 5 from the line in 25 minutes. Oh, my God. It felt like he wasn't playing as much, but 28 points in 25 minutes after coming back? You want to talk about why the Clippers are 13-9? Norman Powell is a big reason why. I mean, what he's doing, the way he's shooting is insane. But I still think James Harden was the guy in this game. The guy. I mean, it's amazing. James Harden's longevity is underrated. And I think a lot of players' longevity is underrated just because, we got LeBron, who's like the face of the league still in terms of popularity and ratings and stuff. He and Steph Curry. But LeBron is in year 22 now. And I get tired of hearing them, talk about LeBron year 22 so much. But when we talk about longevity, it feels like because of LeBron and what he's doing, we don't talk about some of these other stars of the 2010s that are showing incredible longevity. And it's going to be more common because you got load management, you got modern surgeries, less back-to-backs than ever before, charter flights, so many different people that are working within keeping players healthy, even though everybody's injured these days. But the modern surgeries, I think, is the biggest reason why people are going to play longer, and load management. But James Harden's not a guy that really has load managed. He's always been super available, which is something I can never knock. He really likes to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? And when he's given the keys like this, I mean, he's going to love it. He's never going to complain about this. And he and the Clippers have been a very solid relationship thus far. He had, as I mentioned, 39, 9, and 11, but Norm, I did say this was about Norm, this second segment, and what else can you say? Big shot after big shot. It really does feel like all his open threes are going to go in. Like, Norman Powell. Can you believe we made that trade in 2022? Gave up Keon Johnson, who's now on another team. Eric Bledsoe, who's like, I don't know where he is right now. Shout out to Eric Bledsoe. And then Robert Covington ended up getting us Harden. So, even though Free Rocco was a thing and I missed him and it was nice to see him play when he played, that was maybe Lawrence Frank's best work. But Norman Powell, back like he never left. Huge impact. Clippers, by the way, shot 48% from the field and 46% from 3. 81.5% from the line. And let me tell you where we won the game. Because the Nuggets shot 58% from the field, which is crazy to think about. But not really when you see that they scored 122 points. But 58% from the field and losing is wild. And 42% from three. But here's where they lost the game. Free throws. 10 for 19 from the line. Just like my other favorite win of the season in terms of like the game I went to. Okay, my top three wins are this one, the win at Denver, and then the Warriors game. But I'd always put Jokic and the Nuggets higher than the Warriors. So I'm going with either the Nuggets win on the road or this one. But we allowed them to shoot that. Oh, I'm sorry. The Warriors lost because of free throws. Nuggets lost because of free throws too. 10 for 19. We shot 8 more free throws and ended up making 12 more than them. So they shot 10 for 19. We shot 22 for 27 and the three-pointer advantage. We made 8 more threes. We shot 18 for 39. They shot 10 for 24. So the math game there. We shot 46% from three, and a lot of that was James Harden, who shot a lot. And I heard that Ty Lue wants Harden shooting 10-plus threes. Look, I'm not the guy that's going to be super pro. I said the same with Paul George all the time. I think you got to just, like, let the game play out. You know what I'm saying? Like, good quality threes, not just go into the game jacking. Like, James Harden is shooting 34% from three right now. I think that's going to keep going up. He even said, he's finding his legs. He hasn't had this role in 4 to 5 years of being the number one option. And after this game, I think that average is going to go up to probably 35, right? That's still not enough to me to warrant a bunch of contested threes, 10-plus a game. I just don't know if that's the move. He does somehow get fouled on at least one a game, it seems. But I just think James Harden getting in the paint, getting the step, that's the James Harden I like. Because it's like nothing like getting 2 feet in the paint with his passing ability for me. But I'm sorry to any Norman Powell stands, if there are any, or Clipper fans that wanted me to talk more about Norm. I just think in his short minutes there wasn't much to say, so I went back to Harden. But Norm was insane. He really was. It was the Norman Harden show, and they've been a God-sent backcourt this year. Safe to say, maybe the best scoring backcourt the Clippers have ever had? Huh? Unless we count Paul George last year. No, because Terance Mann's technically smaller, so we'll scale up. Just to discredit Paul George a little bit. Know what I'm saying? I still have love for Paul, but Sixers suck. All right, coming up, going to talk about some home cooking. How about that? Some home cooking. Terance Mann. I saw the Terance haters. We got something for you. And how about Amir? And how about Jordan Miller? How about all our homegrown guys? Going to be talking about it coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And it's not even just NFL. You could also bet on the NBA or other sports. So when it comes to winning the division, the Clippers before the season had the lowest odds. Now we're plus 900. So as I said, you should have smashed that before. But now we have better odds than the Sacramento Kings, who FanDuel is super out on. Oh, my God. Plus 3,200? Oh, my goodness. Poor Sacramento Kings. Anyway, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Clipper Nation, we're back. And we're 13-9. We have played 4 more games than them somehow, but we have a better record than Denver. And we haven't had Kawhi Leonard play a game. And Norman Powell has missed 6 games. Part of that is because James Harden and Ivica Zubac have not missed a game. And I've talked about James Harden a lot in this episode. Zoo, he usually does a pretty good job on Jokic. It was with the way Jokic has been shooting that pick and pop 3-ball this year. We just couldn't have him on Jokic as much. It was a lot of switching going on. And I think the only gripe I had with Zoo really in this game was that he wasn't finishing well. But his short roll decision making is getting so much better. 6 points, 8 rebounds, so no double-double for him in this one. 5 assists, 2 for 9 from the field, 3 turnovers. So even though he's a plus 10, not the best Zoo game, but we don't win without him. It's really that simple. Guys like Chris Dunn, who, the stat line might not show much. 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists on 2 for 5 shooting and 0 for 2 from 3. Doesn't sound like much. But there's 4 steals and 2 blocks I didn't mention and no turnovers in there. And that set the tone for us. And where would we be without his defense this season? Where would we be? Because that's one of the most surprising things. I knew James Harden was an all-time floor raiser. I knew he could do stuff like this. If you had told me that Kawhi wasn't going to play a game, I would think he'd average 23 points a game. But again, he might end up averaging 23 points a game the way it's trending. He's had 2 basically 40-point games back. Well, 2 out of the last 3, I should say. But Chris Dunn has been one of the surprises for me. Norman Powell and Chris Dunn have been surprising for me. James Harden is, I'm very familiar with his game. Chris Dunn has been where I've been like, wow, I did not know he was this good defensively. And you know who else I have not been impressed? I'm sorry, not really impressed with because I knew he was this good. It's not a knock. Derrick Jones Jr., just so solid. It was a quieter game for him. But 4 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal on 2 for 5 shooting. It's just like, as I mentioned in the last episode, you don't get much bad from Derrick. He's going to always defend. And those are the kind of guys that end up winning, playing for teams that go to the finals and win chips. So, love what I'm seeing from Derrick. That's our starting lineup right there. But let's talk about some home cooking. Jordan Miller. This guy is showing the ability to create his own shot, which is something that we need more of. By the way, KPJ is going to be out for a little bit. I don't know. They're not saying how long, but they're saying a couple of games at least. And I think he was starting to play well, but I know a lot of fans, they're like, not excited that he's gotten injured because that's barbaric and we're not miserable people here in Clipper Nation that wish injury upon anybody. But a lot of people are saying it's not the worst thing in the world. I kind of want to, because this means that Norm's back, but Jordan doesn't go anywhere. And this is just how sports works. Team fans like homegrown players. There's nothing better than seeing a guy that was drafted by your team become a legend for you. Which, if you're a Nuggets fan listening to this, I envy you to a large degree. With the fact that you have Murray and Jokic having done this, even MPJ having done this for your franchise, get that first ring. So we know how it is. We loved Blake Griffin. We loved him. We still do. Laker fans, there's a reason why Magic and Kobe are on a different tier. You know what I'm saying? Celtics fans love the Jays. They're all-timers now. So with Jordan Miller, I know it's funny mentioning him with the guys I just named, but point is that he's got crazy fan backing right now. And when he gets on the floor, he lets the game do the talking more than Clipper Nation does. Because he gets to the paint. He was doing it on Aaron Gordon. I mean, that's no joke. Getting to that left hand, finishing strong, and you've seen a little bit more of him handling the ball. So is there a point forward kind of potential there with him in playmaking? He was really solid. He had 8 points, all in the paint in the second quarter. He had, by the way, the Nuggets did not go with a backup big with Dario Saric. They went with 8 players, just Gordon, Westbrook, and Strawther in the game off the bench. So that was that. As far as Jordan Miller's stat line, he only played 15 minutes, and he had 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists on 4 for 6 shooting, and his only 2 misses were threes. He is very solid, and I'm excited to see him keep getting rotation minutes without Kevin Porter. Then you have Amir Coffey, who went to the bench and didn't skip a beat really at all. So efficient. And some of the shots he's making, I'm like, wow, some tough shots. Mainly the twos. 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover on 5 for 11 shooting, 3 for 7 from 3 in 18 minutes. He's been awesome. And then Terance Mann. I mean, it's so great to see Terance play with a little confidence. And it started with him getting a layup early. And when teams go with the blitz on Harden or Norm, whoever it may be, and we get in those 4-on-3 situations, Terance is so good at timing that cut and finishing on those lobs or baseline, cuts. So that really helps his game when teams do that, when they throw 2 on the ball like that and pick and rolls. And then the 3 ball and the mid-ranges, that was just him starting to get more comfortable with his shot. And then the offensive rebound that led to him shooting the 3, that, oh my God, that basically made me feel like we were going to win the game. There's nothing better than when a guy like blocks a shot or gets an offensive rebound and then he gets rewarded with a bucket. Like, there's almost nothing better than that. Terance was awesome, and I'm not going to say I'm surprised at all because this is Terance, man. He's due for games like this. That's why I never, get too crazy about my guy. Like, I just know he's going to end up coming through eventually. It just feels annoying to, second straight year having this conversation. But 15 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover on 6 for 7 shooting and made both his threes, 1 for 2 from the foul line in 25 minutes. He was awesome. 15 points, we'll take that all day. 6 for 7. So the homegrown guys were good. Mo Bamba finally made a 3. How about that? I thought he was very solid in his minutes. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and a turnover on 2 for 2 shooting and made his only 3, as I said. 1 for 2 from the foul line in 13 minutes, man. Mo, I liked what I saw. 7-1 with Mo Bamba. And then Nico Batum, so many awesome tip offensive rebounds. It's just, his defense is so solid. It's so versatile. 3 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Short roll Nico. Extra pass Nico. Only shot 2 shots, and of course, they were all threes. Made one of them. Great win for the Clips, man. 126-122. Harden player of the game. He's been exceptional so far this season. Norman Powell's back and kicking, doing exactly what he's been doing all season. And we got some home cooking guys that all had a good game. It's hard to find anybody that really had a bad game for us. So, big win, 126-122. Let me know where that ranks for you with wins this season. And if you want to see a video of the game and the atmosphere and the fans' thoughts, Westbrook's tribute video. I didn't even mention much about Russ. Great to have him back. Great reception. Love to see his, how animated he was. He thanked the fans. Also, we were chanting DJ's name when he was looking at the wall. And he, acknowledged the fans. That was awesome. So, great night overall. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought. And remember the newsletter, Locked On Clippers, newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers, baby. Huge win.